Enrico, Luca magically captures your childhood and so many iconic elements of Italian culture, from the blue grottos, the food, the Vespas, the outdoor cafes. It's all so much fun. How exciting was it to bring the essence of these sea villages to life for everyone to be able to enjoy this from around the world?
Oh yeah, it was so much fun. I mean, it really started with me sharing it with the team, which was a wonderful start of it, so that they could really portray it correctly. So I did feel I was playing host a little bit in our first trip over there, and you feel very fortunate. You're kind of like, wow, boy, was I lucky? Was I privileged and lucky and honored to? I just grew up in the right place. It was so much fun. We would just jump off these rocks, play. There was something very, very beautiful about that, about the summers. And
Mhm.
so I feel very honored and excited about sharing those. And then, really with the teams, the work was like making sure that we feel true to the place and that we will bring specificity and a little quirkiness of the place so that we stayed away from anything that felt a little too easy or stereotypical. And some of it was just using my memories, and some of it was really just checking with other Italian cultural help. So that's how we made sure that we would just kind of like, what are the things of childhood that are still a bit universal, but that I remember and that we want to bring, authenticity to. We really think a lot about authenticity, even though this, of course, this is kind of a 1950s and 60s. We wanted to feel like, that beautiful watermelon these kids just chomp into.
Yes. My next question was for Andrea, but since you mentioned the jumping off the rocks, I just wanted to kind of get your input from the beautiful sculpture animation that was made from, Luca and Alberto jumping off into the sea. And, that's the story that I always tell on my travels to Italy. That's the first thing I talk about is jumping into the sea. So how cool was it for you to see such a, just a beautiful stylized tribute to that action?
I think it was so cool. It was so awesome because again, there was something about being a kid again. And there's like I was saying this in today, like I jump into the ocean here in the Bay Area at a beach, and 2 hours pass and I haven't even noticed because I'm a kid again. I'm playing in the waves, and I realized that there's just the power of being in the water, and just it just something feels natural. So I am a little bit of a fish that way. I feel very joyful and happy, and so I love that we're capturing something kid-like and playful in these wonderful jumps. The animators really had so much fun with the playfulness of the animation. So I love how that goes together with this feeling we're chasing with the kid world.
Mhm. And Andrea, what were some of your favorite parts of the project that you researched and just saw come into fruition? Did you have any favorite elements?
Well, I mean, I think I mentioned in our presentation, I mean, I love La Luna. I think I always thought it was such a beautiful, poetic short. I love how it kind of boiled things down to their essence and kind of celebrated that about, the emotional authenticity and feeling like you're in a painting. And so I think that that was something that I really loved about making Luca, was to find that, that same inspiration, but translated over to a feature length film, and to create that sort of poetic, beautiful version of the storytelling that makes you feel like you're there, but also kind of makes you feel like you're in a painting or a child's book.
Mhm. And also, Andrea, can you tell us about the strong female characters in the film?
I love Julia, so I'm glad you asked. Yeah, I think she was a really fun character to craft. I mean, I think we really tried to, stay away from tropes and keep her strong, but also vulnerable. I mean, that's a real part of being a female as well, is like she's overcomes those feelings of, not always fitting in or not being sure what her place is, but she's so passionate and fiery, and I love how she kind of comes to the rescue of I love her intro. I mean, like right away, she's like stepping in, she cares about justice. She's like, this isn't going down. And and she does it in her own silly way with a fish, and it's not like this elegant superhero just shows up and knows what to do. She's still a kid, and she's kind of doing it in her fun way. And yeah, and I just love like when she says like, am I too much, is this too much? That there's just this wonderful, sweet vulnerability in that. And I think that the girl, Emma, who voiced Julia, brought so much of that genuine charm and strength to her as a character.
Yes. Enrico, can you tell us about Puertorosso and how you came up with the name and its inspiration?
Yeah, it's kind of a summation of different towns, because the Riviera has so many beautiful towns. There's 5 that are famous Cinque Terre. One of them is called Monte Rosso, so it's actually Red Mountain. And there's the famous one actually you might have heard before is Portofino, which is actually very kind of more of the jet setter side of this. And then there's one that's called Porto Venere. So Porto, it's a port. So we thought, oh, let's make, we designed actually the town in a similar way, where we wanted to make the essence of the place. So we made up a little bit our own one town to have them all in it. And Puertorosso felt like a fun, kind of mix of a name. Yeah, that's how that came about. And there's so many of them, they're really lovely. And the Cinque Terre are so special.
Mm-hmm. Andrea, you mentioned that the team, you watched a lot of Italian films. Can you just tell a little bit more about that process and what nods did you make to the Italian filmmakers?
Sure. Yeah, it's, I think it's fun to celebrate the world that you're trying to create. And so I think, like I said, we definitely ate gelato and had pasta and watched movies, and it was fun. We had Enrico kind of introduce some of them and talked about what it was about those films that was interesting to him, or that and yeah, it was real fun to just be immersed in something and learning. I think in a way we all have a bit of that Luca in us, that is curious and always excited to learn new things, and I think we all felt that way. One of the films we loved so much was Big Deal on Madonna Street. It's just a fun movie. And so there's a little nod to it later in the film, which is fun to look for.
Right. Yeah, there's a double Mastroianni homage from 2 different movies. That's one of them.
Yes.
Marcello Mastroianni is in it. And yeah, it's a kind of a very silly heist movie. If it's worth a watch.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it. Yeah, there's so many movies that are so inspiring. And it's also that period, we really had to look at them to really capture the period, the 50s and 60s. We found great reference. And a lot of that post-war kind of scrappiness. And it's very blue. Most of these movies are very blue collar, because everybody's kind of trying to make a life for themselves after the war. And so we wanted to capture some of that. They were very useful in kind of getting this timelessness of the period.
Nice. And Enrico, is there one particular moment that stood out for you as you come to the completion of the film? Since this is kind of based on your childhood, is there just like one moment that you just really loved about Luca?
Oh yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've had one moment recently where we finished animation and you final the last shot, and there's like almost 1,500 shots. And so we're still finishing, because after animation there's a lot of departments that still need to do a lot of work, the cloth, effects, so we're still hard at work for the next 3 weeks. But when you've finished giving life, in the animators have this wonderful privilege and honor to they have one of the most exciting jobs, because they're really making these characters come to life. And when you get to that last moment and you're saying goodbye to, we had almost 70 animators, so that's a big team. And you've been you see them in the morning, you see them in the afternoon, and for months. And so they become this posse and this awesome group of friends, and they were very sweet. They seemed to really there were some really sweet words from them, and having enjoyed the collaborative nature and how much we went on these journeys together. So that was very, very touching. And they really are responsible for having made all these characters that were in my head only a few years back really come to life. So that was a really exciting moment where you feel like, you know, it's the beginning of the end. And we're almost there now with everything.
Thank you. And Andrea, what makes Luca unique from other projects that you've worked on?
I really love the tone of Luca. I think it's, I appreciate that it is always driving forward, but still always slowing down. I love that we look at the world through Luca's eyes, and, you know, he's never been above water, and he's going to see Puertorosso for the first time. And so I think that it gives us this ability to appreciate these details that are, you know, frankly around all of us all the time, but in this case, the ones that exist, you know, in the beautiful Italian Riviera, of the waves crashing on the shore, and the wind in the leaves, and just taking in the sights and smells and sounds. And maybe we'll all be that way after the pandemic, you know, like, oh, it's all so amazing, you know, so hopefully, you know, we kind of have that before us. But I love celebrating that and just really enjoying the relationships in the film. And I think we never kind of rush past them. We really get to exist within these moments as they happen. And I really love that about the film.
Nice. And Enrico, last question. What do you hope viewers take away from the film, the prominent themes of friendship and having to hide your identity and being true to yourself? What do you hope, you know, moviegoers take away from it?
Yeah, I keep on thinking that I hope some of us more grown-ups think back a little bit about those friendship and take a little bit of a dive into memories, and maybe pick up the phone and call your old good friend you haven't heard back from in a while. I feel like it's wonderful how after 2 minutes you're right back where you were many years ago. That's what's wonderful about this friendship. When we often have to leave them a little far away, you know, our paths sometimes diverge. And then when I think about kids, I really think a lot about appreciation of those friends, acceptance of each other, having the courage to ask for help of your friend, right? We do so much for each other. So there's a lot of like finding the courage to show your true self and find people around you that see you and embrace you. Right. I always love the idea that we have these voices that say, the Brunos in our head that says, you can't do this, you can't do that. Find amazing people that let you embrace, yes, you can, and are right by your side. And so, yeah, embrace a bit of courage and the right people around you to support you in this sense of being truly yourself. And that's a big part of what these 2-3 little kids, you know, I love how Julia is really unapologetically herself, and that I think is a big thing that Luca is kind of observing through the movie that I love.
Nice. Well, thank you both so much.
Yes.
I can't wait to see the full film.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much.
Yes, our pleasure. Take care.
Take care.